everyone, it's Oma from Oma's World, and I'm going to, as promised, show you how I make pies. So we're going to start with the recipe. So the first thing I want to think about is, do I want to make a single pie shell or a double? Or do I want to make other things from my pie dough, like tarts? So I'm going to show you the full recipe, but you can have this recipe. If you decide to make a full recipe, it keeps very well in the fridge. There's a few other things that I want to talk about before I start making this. Do I use lard or do I use shortening? I prefer lard. Lard has a higher fat content, so you're going to get a flakier crust, but you will get a little bit of flavor. Whereas shortening gives no flavor. That's why it's often used in icings as well. Do I use a glass pie pan or do I use a metal one? Metal is a better conductor of heat, so I would recommend always using metal. If all that you have is glass, that's fine, but you're going to find that you have to bake it longer. I do use disposable pie plates, and I'm going to use one today, especially if I'm giving the pie to someone, then I don't have to worry about getting my pie plate back. Okay, so the full recipe. I have used this recipe since when I first got married, and it's never failed me. So in here already is 5 cups flour, 1/4 teaspoon baking powder, and 1 tablespoon salt. And I just mix that together, make sure I'm not forgetting anything. And I make sure it's mixed very well. I just use a pastry blender. And then I'm just going to start adding my lard. Just going to cut it up and just start adding some pieces of lard. And I just kind of distribute it here and there in my bowl. Like that. And I'm going to start blending it in. And it's going to take some time. So this is what it's going to look like. It has a whole pound of lard that I've put in here. So it's just like a pound of butter. It really is equivalent to 2 cups of lard. Now, if I was halving the recipe, I would only use half of the pound of the lard, or 1 cup. So, and I did it in two steps. So I first blended in the 1 cup of lard, and then I blended in the rest of it because it is a bit much, and you really want to get it blended well. Then also what I'm going to do is I have 2 slightly beaten eggs here, and I'm just going to add that in here. And I'm just going to do the exact same thing as I did with the lard. And I'm just going to cut it in here with my pastry blender. And I'm going to make sure it's mixed well. The only thing you're going to notice is as I move to a bigger bowl, and the reason why I did that was so that you could better see what the dough is looking like. In this, I have 1 tablespoon of vinegar and 3/4 cup of cold water. And just so you know, I didn't first put 3/4 cup of cold water and then the vinegar. The vinegar is included with the 3/4 cup measurement. Now, I'm not going to need much of this because as you can see, it's starting to hold together. So I'm just going to put a wee little bit in here, and then I'm going to mix it. So now what I'm going to do is I've added, and just a bit of water, but I sort of feel like this dough is now, I added a bit too much. It's a bit too wet for the consistency that I need it to be, because it wouldn't roll well like that. So it's a real easy fix, and I kind of left it like this on purpose instead of fixing that off camera in case that happens to you. So I'll just take all my dough out and put it on my flour. And also what I'm going to do is I'm just going to work some flour into it until it feels like a better dough that I can roll out. And you can see, just look how beautiful that is. And it feels just like silk. It's a beautiful pie dough recipe. And it's pretty much what I would call a no-fail pie dough recipe. All right, so now I'm pretty happy with that consistency. If I started rolling it and I found it still had a bit too much moisture in it, I could just work some more flour into it. Pie dough is actually quite forgiving. So I cut off some pie dough. I just kind of guessed. In that much, I'd say I maybe took about a third off, and then I'll just pat it out. And just to make sure it's not going to stick a little bit, I'll just pat it out again. There. Okay. Okay. Then I'm going to start from the inside and roll out. Inside, roll out. Inside and roll out. And sometimes, come this stage of the game, I might even opt to fold this in half, move it, sprinkle just a little bit more flour so it's not going to stick. See, and I'm just quick. I don't second guess myself if I'm doing that, if I choose to do that. Okay. And we want this to be about 1/8 of an inch thick. And I think we're about there. Okay. So, you see, we're about 1/8 of an inch. Then what I usually do is I take my pie plate and I think, oh, well, I've got an awful lot, and that's a lot to transfer. So I'll cut about, I don't know, about 3 inches around, because I need some extras to forgive into my pie plate, right? Because it's got a shape, it has to go into the pie plate. It has to go to the form of it. Okay, some people roll it on their rolling pin. You can. I usually just do this. And then I just pick it up and I go about halfway. Make sure I got enough there, because I'm going to need it to go to about the middle of the pie plate, and just do this. See how I'm quick? See how I don't second guess myself? Okay, and I'm just going to make sure that it's forming to the pan. Form it to the pan. I'm really going to make sure it's in there. All right. There. Now what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to cut it, and I'll say 1/2 inch, but oops, I broke it there. Oopsie daisy. There we go. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my fingers, see, right there against the pie plate, and I would cut where, if to help you guess what 1/2 inch is, about to your first joint on your finger. So I'll just lay my hand there. I can feel where that first joint is, and cut. And cut. And this is for, remember, a single pie dough. I really broke that there, but I think it'll be okay. And it's good if I make little boo-boos here, because it's going to help you fix your boo-boos. Because nothing's, going to be perfect. But at your end result will look really good. Okay, picking it up. I'll get rid of that since it's weighing it down a bit. Where did I leave off? Right about here, right. There we go. There we go. And I'll do that all the way around. So I've got it all cut where, do you see, if you look, it's right about approximately at about the first joint of my finger. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick it up and I'm going to fold it over so that, do you see how it's right on the edge of the pie plate? I'm going to do that here too. And I'm just going to do that all the way I've got it all folded over. And you might notice that in some places it might be a little bit thicker than in others. So pie dough again is so forgiving. Look how I can play with it to kind of move that over a bit so it feels about even. See this here? I've got quite a bit extra there. So I'll just push it over and go over to that spot where there isn't quite as much. Okay. Okay, that's good. Now I'm crimping the dough. And everybody has their own way of crimping it. My way seems to be these two fingers and just push it in. And I actually had to think about it before I started videoing it. Because as soon as I thought about it, I thought, now how do I do that? Because it just comes natural. And you're going to find a way that's comfortable for you too. And you see, I'm just crimping it. There. And there. Okay, it's all crimped. I sometimes check, make sure there's not too much of a buildup down in this area from the crimping. I can always press it to make it look nice. But remember again, especially if it's your first time, don't get too worried about it because it's all going to have filler in it. Then I just take a fork and I poke lots of holes. And this is to give it ventilation because otherwise what it's going to do is it would just get this great big bubble in the middle. And I even poke the sides. Now, some people will lightly spray some oil, and I mean lightly because there's enough fat in here already, on their pan before they put the pie dough on. I never have, but if you feel like you want to do that, you sure can. There, just make sure we got enough holes. And here's the part that's going to surprise you is I'm now going to put this in the freezer for about half an hour. So we've put it in the freezer. It's been 30 minutes. Now I have 2 pieces of foil cut out. So I'm just going to press it in here. And the reason why I took 2 was I probably could have gotten away with 1. But if you've got a bit of a bigger pie plate, then you can't fold it over properly. And then it's exposed. And we don't want any dough exposed. We want to cover it with the foil. There we go. And I maybe could have gotten away with it, but it is kind of exposed there. So I'm just going to take the other piece and I press it in as well. Really good. We're going to put some weight in here in a minute. Fold it over. And that pie dough is frozen, so we're not damaging it in any way. All right, then what I'm going to do is, you can buy pie weights if you want. You can use rice, you can use dried beans, anything for weight. I've got right here, this is bean medley and rice medley I bought once and nobody liked it. So I thought, okay, I'll use it for my pies. And the good thing is you can use it over and over again. So I'm just gonna fill it. Not really good here. And because this is a smaller pie than the last one I made, I don't need to use it all, but I sure want to fill it. Okay. Just a little bit more in. There we go. My oven is preheating to 375, and I'm going to bake it for 25 minutes on the middle rack in the oven. Okay, here it goes. So I just took this out of the oven. It baked for 25 minutes. And now I'm just going to take this foil. And the foil isn't hot. The pie is, but the foil isn't. And the contents in here would be, but the foil is not hot. Just going to take that off. Bend it up good. Doesn't slip out of my hands. And I'm just going to take this out. And we can see that our pie is still holding its shape. And now I'm just going to put it back in the oven. It might be 10 minutes. It might be 15 minutes. I'm just going to watch it, and it's going to lightly brown. Here's our pie dough. So I let it brown. I maybe let it brown a little bit longer than I wanted to. But I kind of lost track of time. I'm cooking something else. But this is all that's to it. So one thing that I wanted to talk about was, let's just say that you're doing, you're making your pie dough and you've rolled it out and it's not right. It's either breaking too much, you're thinking this is too dry. Bunch up that pie dough, put it in the bowl. That water that you had that was mixed with the vinegar, just dip your fingers in it and just kind of sprinkle a little bit. Work that into the dough and then just try again. Because in the beginning, sometimes it's hard to know just how much water to put in it. Okay, I hope you have great success. If you have any problems or questions, you know you can ask me. Okay, good luck. There's so many things that you can do with pie dough. I just wanted to close with giving you some ideas. So not only can you make meat pies or a single crust pie or a double crust pie, I can cut, this is a 3-inch cutter, and this is a little mini muffin tin, the one that has 24. And I just, look how I shape that so that I can get that into here. And I just kind of shape that and put that in this muffin tin. I'm going to fill it all up. And it's up to you what you want to put in here. You could put some apple filling. You could put any kind of berries. You could top it with whipped cream after it's baked. I would bake it for probably about 20 minutes. I would probably choose 350. So you could top it with whipping cream. Sometimes I make a little crumble. So that would be out of flour, and I often use whole oats. I use an even amount of that, and some cinnamon and brown sugar, and then some butter, and just make a little bit of a crumble and just top it after you put your berries in. That's really good with apples. Another thing that I do sometimes is I'll take one of these and I'll kind of press it in a little bit. I'll put my berries there or my filling, and then I'll just slightly wet the edge. Take another one, put it over top, and just with a fork press around it and just put little slits so it can breathe. Put it on a cookie sheet. I usually put parchment paper on it and bake it at 350 until they're brown. Probably again about, I don't know, I'm guessing 15-20 minutes. Okay, so there's so many things you can do. It's unlimited now that you can make your own pie dough. Have lots of fun.